everybody? My name is Luther Wilson III, and I'm a real estate professional here in the Kansas City market. And over the last 14 years, almost, I've been a real estate practitioner doing sales, investments, and lending. It's been a combination of those three things over the last decade plus. And it's been pretty amazing, all right? And I started this YouTube channel in 2024 as a way to, promote myself and my business, and then also to talk about what my firm does, what me and my partners, my mentors, my colleagues do, okay? Want to be able to educate and inspire and collaborate. It's part of my mission. And so to get more awareness around financial literacy, more awareness around real estate, investing, the different aspects of the business, entrepreneurship and sales definitely ties in there. People reaching out over the last few years saying, write a book or start a podcast or do a YouTube channel, and where you at on X, or what's the deal? And I'm like, whoa, there's a lot there. Slow your roll. Like, let me do one at a time. So I figured last year was a great time to start doing videos because there was a lot of changes in the real estate market with inflation and with interest rates and with inventory and the stuff that I've mentioned. If you've been tuned in, I've mentioned that and a lot more on previous videos. And so I want to keep the ball moving forward. This particular video is going to be more free form, where I talk about, a little bit more about what I do, my background, and how investors can place capital or invest capital. Because over the last, decade plus, as I mentioned, as a real estate practitioner, my main focus has been serving investors, helping them get through the process. My background is in property management. I worked for 2 different property management firms before starting another 2 properties. I say 2 or 3 that I started because one was kind of already going and I helped it grow. But then after that, we did actually start a couple other property management firms. So anyway, all along the way, it's been tailored around investors and investment properties. And so I just want to put the word out there, encourage people look at real estate. Kansas City, it's been an amazing experience for me and my partners and my clients. And so for those especially that want to have an additional stream of income that's more passive, it could be a way for investors to supplement their retirement income. And for some, more serious people, you could eventually do it full time in some way or another. And so it's part of what I want to do is help people get to that if they so choose, all right? And so when I think of business in general, and especially real estate investing, I look at 3 big categories. There's capital, there's the strategy, and then there's the operations of a real estate investing business. And I've touched on all 3 of those in previous videos, to help you and to help me as well get a better idea of how that all flows together, because it all definitely ties in together. Of course, the capital piece, there's the gap funds, there's the financing if you're going to use leverage of some sort to be able to acquire, and if you're doing value add, to be able to renovate properties and so forth. Then there's the strategy piece, which I've talked about for us, for me and my company. One of our methods, one strategy that we utilize is seller financing as a way to not only acquire properties, but also to resell properties, creating cash flow, long-term, that sort of thing. So for other investors that I've worked with and that I know, their strategy might be short-term rentals or furnished finders or Airbnb. Those are really popular now and have done really well from my understanding. Other people's strategy is fix and flip. They want to, flip higher end homes, or they maybe do B and C class. They are probably maybe doing some wholesaling as well. Those usually kind of tie in together. That's what I would consider to be another real estate investment strategy. And then of course you got investors that do long-term rentals, multifamily, could be, residential single family as well. I consider that a strategy too, okay? So then once we get a handle on the strategy and or the capital piece, the operations is huge. And that's where a lot of us investors have fumbled the bag. If not on the operations, then the capital piece, that's for sure. And so when it comes to the operations, that like a lot of investors come into the business from different angles and different methods and so forth. But at the end of the day, a lot of us want long-term investments to produce wealth or cash flow or equity. Well, a lot of times that's going to entail some type of management, whether you're doing traditional rental, short-term, medium-term, whatever, or if you're doing fix and flip wholesale, there's different ways of operating that business strategy or real estate investment strategy. And when I talk about seller financing, however that's structured on the back end as a way to exit and create cash flow, that's kind of my lane and my niche. And that's where we focus, that's where I focused on the operations there. And so, plug in for sure. If you want to know more about what we do and how you can invest and place capital in any market that you're in, not just in the Kansas City market, and getting those three together is huge. I don't know if you could really have a solid, long-term, long-lasting real estate investment business without having those three pieces clicking. If you're still going and growing and that sort of thing and scaling the capital, the operations, and the strategy. And so fortunately for me and my team, we came in as operators, as salespersons, as leasing agents, as property managers, and then a bunch of my colleagues are contractors as well. And so I feel like that kind of gave us a leg up in some regard, right? A lot of us who start in that boat where we may not have as much money on the front end, we eventually, we're good on the operations. We can find deals. We're on the ground. We can manage the whole process. But where a lot of us, definitely for me and a lot of people I know, we got to figure out the capital piece. The strategy is pretty straightforward. Those ways that I mentioned before of buying and selling or buying and holding, but the operations, well, the capital, depending on where you come in from. A lot of us come in with the operational experience, and we got to figure out, because the strategy, like I said, is pretty simple. You pick one and then you get good at that. Then getting the operation, getting the capital down for those operators. I'm going back and forth because there are some investors that do get into the game and they start off with some capital, but they have no experience. Maybe they bought a primary residence or two, or they've done their first rental and it's out of state. Kansas City especially, a lot of my clients were out of state investors over the years. That's who we manage properties for. From investors from Texas, California, Colorado, Canada, Israel, and a bunch of other places. And so a lot of them had some capital that they started with. Well, they're 1,000 miles away or way across the United States. They are going to struggle with the operational piece, right? The management and so forth. So I know it's going to, I kind of went back and forth, but I know it's going to click for y'all. It's going to resonate with some of y'all who have been researching this thing, because there's so many resources and so much information out there. If you're tuned into this channel, odds are you're doing some type of marketing, or you're about to buy a property, or you're interested in growing and doing some type of real estate, okay? So that's a big thing. So I wanted to, get some clarity on that. So capital, operations, okay, strategy, and let's see. So that's huge. I mentioned my background in property management. A lot of my clients needed assistance with managing their assets, getting through renovation projects, okay? And, I'm grateful for that experience, definitely. And again, I mentioned before, that's where a lot of investors fumble the bag. And so something that I'll give y'all a little bit of clue on how a lot of investors, how we've made our biggest impact as real estate investors, combining those two together, the capital and the operations. And the number one way that we've been able to do that, the number one way that my clients have been able to do that is through joint venture partnerships of some sort with the use of private capital, whether it's your capital or their capital. And if you're not going all cash, then there's gonna be some type of leverage. The leverage is the debt portion, the loan that you're gonna use, right? If you're gonna leverage what capital you have to be able to purchase and hold properties, purchase, renovate, refi properties, however you're choosing to do that. And so very important to be able to combine all of those together. And so the joint venture partnerships, that's where I was. Yeah, joint venture partnerships with the use of private capital. That's where we've seen the absolute best success for our real estate investment firms, the joint venture partnerships. So definitely look into that. Okay, so this is definitely for the investors who are looking to grow. And also, you might be an out-of-state investor or a local investor, whatever part of the country you're in, who's looking to grow. And there's ways that you can do it, right? I know I for sure got into it on at least one other video. So definitely tap in to my YouTube channel, Luther3RE, Luther Wilson III. You can look it up there. I'm active on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So plug in, because I don't want it for this one to go too long. I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover, but just look at the joint venture partnerships, because I've done it with multiple partners over the last decade, and we've been able to make it work, right? So again, tap in. Appreciate you tuning in. Have a blessed day. Take care. Peace.